Why did the room go quiet the moment his shadow crossed her tray? It wasn't sudden, not really. It happened the way pressure builds before a storm, slow, invisible, inevitable. The cafeteria had been loud just seconds earlier. Steel chairs scraping, trays clattering, half-formed conversations bouncing off concrete walls, routine noise, institutional noise, the kind you stop hearing after a while. Then something shifted. Heads turned, voices lowered. The noise thinned out until it felt brittle like glass about to crack. Anya Sharma stood at the head of the serving line, both hands steady beneath her tray. She didn't look up. She didn't step back. She didn't rush forward either. She simply occupied the exact amount of space she needed, no more, no less. Blocking her path was Gunnery Sergeant Marcus Thorne. He was built like a declaration, thick neck, heavy shoulders, a presence that demanded compliance before words were ever spoken. He didn't need to touch her to dominate the space. His shadow did that for him. His two companions flanked him loosely, not watching Anya at all. They were watching the room, watching reactions, broadcasting the moment. Anya's eyes remained fixed just past Thorne's shoulder on a fogged glass panel protecting a sad pile of iceberg lettuce. Her breathing was slow, measured, controlled. "Well, look what we've got here," Thorne said, voice low and practiced, calibrated to carry without shouting. "Command's newest experiment." A few chuckles followed, rehearsed, safe. Anya didn't respond. Thorne leaned closer, close enough that she could smell stale coffee and dried sweat. "Tell me something," he continued. "Did they lower the standards for you or just erase them?" More laughter, louder this time. Still nothing from her. And that was the problem. Silence was supposed to crack under pressure. Silence was supposed to beg. Her silence did neither. It just existed, calm, unmarked, unbothered. It made him feel irrelevant. Thorne took a half step forward. Around them, 200 operators pretended not to stare. Analysts, instructors, support staff, every shade of judgment wrapped in uniform fabric. Most of them had already decided who she was. A checkbox. A headline. A mistake. Anya knew this without anyone saying it. She, known it the moment she arrived a week earlier. She was different, not because she was female, because she didn't perform her difference. She didn't apologize for it. She didn't compensate for it either. She just worked. She assembled her rifle with surgical calm. She ran the obstacle course without wasting energy. She listened more than she spoke. When she spoke, it mattered. To men like Thorne, that restraint felt like a challenge. He nudged her tray with the back of his hand. Light, casual testing. It didn't move. His jaw tightened. "You've got to maintain situational awareness out here," he said, mock concern dripping from every syllable. "Things happen." Then he hit her. Not hard enough to be called an assault, just enough to send the tray tilting. Mashed potatoes slid free. Brown gravy followed. They splattered against the polished floor between them. A few snickers. The room went completely still. "Oh no," Thorne said softly, looking down. "Clumsy." He placed a heavy hand on her shoulder. That was the moment. Not when the food hit the floor. Not when the laughter died. Not when the silence deepened. The moment was when his fingers settled into place, claiming, asserting, daring. Anya didn't flinch. Her world didn't narrow. It expanded. She registered the pressure of each finger, the angle of his wrist, his forward lean, the imbalance in his stance, the smell of gravy, the sudden chill along her neck, the breath hitch from someone behind her who wanted to intervene and didn't. Her mind was not angry. It wasn't afraid. It was calm. A diagnostic system running through variables. Threat identified. Objective clear. Minimal force required. She exhaled. Her center of gravity dropped not visibly but decisively. Her shoulders rotated a fraction. Geometry shifted. His leverage dissolved. Her left hand rose not fast, not slow, precise, thumb finding nerves, fingers locking bone. Her right hand set the tray aside without sound. Thorne felt it before he understood it. Pain bloomed, sharp and electrical, racing up his arm. His fingers went numb. Strength vanished. He pulled instinctively. She turned with him. Not a throw, not a strike. A redirection. Physics did the rest. His weight betrayed him. His balance collapsed. He hit one knee, arm locked, head bowed in front of her. The silence was total now. Anya leaned in just enough for him to hear her. "You're right," she said quietly. "People do get hurt here." A subtle increase in pressure. His vision swam. "Remove your hand." Then she let go. Thorne stumbled back, cradling his arm, face stripped bare of certainty. No anger yet, just shock, just the sudden realization that everything he believed about power had failed him in under 2 seconds. Master Chief Vance stood up across the room. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't make a show of it. He simply watched. And so did everyone else. The question no one asked out loud finally had an answer. She belonged. But this wasn't the end. It was only the moment the storm changed direction. Why did the room feel colder after she walked away, like something unfinished had just begun? No one applauded. No one spoke. The cafeteria didn't explode into noise again the way it usually did after tension passed. It stayed muted, as if the walls themselves were listening. Anya Sharma picked up her tray from the railing and stepped around the spilled food without looking back. Her movements were unchanged, controlled, ordinary, that unsettled people more than any display of force ever could. Behind her, Gunnery Sergeant Marcus Thorne stood frozen, arm pulled tight to his chest, face flushed with something deeper than pain. It wasn't humiliation yet. That would come later. This was disbelief, the kind that fractures identity. He hadn't lost a fight. He'd lost a narrative. Men like Thorne survived on stories about dominance, hierarchy, inevitability, about who broke first, and what had just happened didn't fit inside any story he knew how to tell. Master Chief Elias Vance watched Anya disappear into the flow of bodies exiting the mess hall. He didn't intervene. He didn't congratulate her. He logged the moment away with the others he'd collected over 30 years, the moments when people revealed who they really were under pressure. And pressure, he knew, had a way of returning, harder. The rest of the day passed in an uneasy fog. During weapons drills, no one stood too close to her anymore, not out of fear, out of recalibration. During briefings, eyes flicked toward her, then away. She had crossed an invisible threshold, not acceptance, something more volatile. Isolation. That night, alone in her quarters, Anya sat on the edge of her bunk and finally let herself feel it. The quiet. Not the calm one she carried into conflict, but the hollow one that followed it. The one that asked questions without words. Had she escalated too far? Had she exposed herself too soon? She replayed the moment, not with doubt but with analysis. The touch, the decision, the outcome, everything had been clean, necessary, proportionate. And yet she knew what came next. Men like Thorne didn't learn from embarrassment. They fermented it. 2 days later, the final field exercise began. Insertion came just after midnight. Rotor wash cut through the desert air as the helicopter hovered low over the valley floor. The rope dropped. One by one, figures slid into darkness. Anya followed, boots hitting dirt softly, knees absorbing impact. She detached and moved clear without waiting for instruction. The night was thin and sharp, cold enough to bite. The mountains loomed like broken teeth against a washed-out sky. This was no longer a classroom. This was where masks failed. She was assigned to the reconnaissance element under Lieutenant Evans, a young Navy officer whose rank sat heavier than his experience. Her role was technical: sensors, signals, communications. Thorne led the assault element. The separation was intentional. Vance wanted to see what distance would do to friction. The first 12 hours unfolded cleanly, almost too clean. Anya moved through the terrain with an economy that drew quiet attention. She didn't rush. She didn't lag. When others stumbled, she adjusted. When they pushed, she conserved. At the observation point overlooking the cave system, she deployed her equipment with hands already numb from cold. Antennas aligned, frequencies locked, data flowed. For a while, it felt like control had returned. Then the wind shifted. The temperature dropped without warning, like someone had opened a door to another world. Clouds thickened. The sky bruised purple. Rain came sideways, then harder, then violently. The radio crackled once and died. Anya stared at the dark screen for half a second too long. Lightning. Close. She powered down, checked connections, tried a secondary array. Nothing. A grinding sound echoed above them. Not thunder. Movement. The slope gave way with a roar that shook the ground. Mud, rock, everything sliding at once. The valley below disappeared under a moving wall of debris. Their route in was gone. So was their route out. The storm intensified with a cruelty that felt personal. Rain turned to sleet, sleet to snow. Wind howled through the canyon like something alive. GPS failed, visibility vanished, cold seeped into bone. Fear crept in quietly. Lieutenant Evans kept trying the radio. Again, again, again. Each failure tightened his voice. When Thorne's element finally reached them, his presence didn't bring relief. It brought urgency without direction. "We move," he shouted, "now down the valley." Anya listened. Calculated. No. She watched men shift their weight, ready to obey. Movement felt like survival. Standing still felt like surrender. She waited. The storm wasn't peaking. It was building. She pulled the compass from its case. The map followed, paper, old, reliable. When Thorne paused for breath, she spoke. "That will get us killed." The words didn't challenge him. They corrected him. He turned, incredulous. "Say that again." She didn't raise her voice, didn't need to. "Our core temperatures are already dropping. Moving fast will make us sweat. That moisture will freeze. The pressure's still falling. The storm isn't done." She pointed to the map. "I marked our position earlier. 2 kilometers east-northeast, there's a shepherd's hut. Stone, embedded into the slope, shelter." Silence followed. Thorne's pride battled reality in real time. Lieutenant Evans made the call. They followed her. The march was brutal. Snow blinded, wind shoved, every step demanded intention. Anya set the pace, not heroic, just survivable. She checked on each man, adjusted intervals, counted time. They reached the hut by accident more than sight. Inside, darkness and damp stone wrapped around them like mercy. Then the voices came. Foreign close. And the door opened. Everything after that happened fast and slowly. Thorne charged. Chaos filled the hut. Anya didn't rush forward. She slid sideways. Solved problems one at a time. A fall here, a grip there. A body dropped gently, controlled. Then she saw it. Thorne on the ground, knife at his throat, blood blooming red against pale skin. For the first time since the cafeteria, he was truly afraid. Their eyes met. He didn't speak. He begged. Anya stepped forward, pistol steady, breath even. "Drop it." The blade fell. Dawn broke hours later. The storm moved on. But something else had changed. When rescue came, no one looked at Thorn the same way. And no one looked at Anya as a question anymore. Some answers don't arrive loudly. They arrive when everything else fails. And someone doesn't. Why did saving his life feel heavier than breaking him ever could? Morning arrived without ceremony. No triumph. No relief loud enough to name. Just pale light spilling over snow-crusted stone and the quiet awareness that everyone inside the hut was still breathing. The helicopter came late. Not because anyone forgot them, because the mountains decided when things happened here. The sky had cleared just enough to allow flight, just enough to tease survival without promising it. Anya stood outside as the rotors chopped the thin air, her breath visible, boots planted in half-frozen mud. She watched the crew work, watched stretchers unloaded that weren't needed, watched men who had trained their entire lives to impose control over chaos stand small against geography. Inside the aircraft, Gunnery Sergeant Marcus Thorne sat rigid, hands folded, eyes forward. The thin cut at his throat had scabbed dark. He hadn't spoken since the hut. Not to her. Not to anyone. That silence followed them all the way back to the facility. The after-action review was scheduled for 48 hours later. Enough time for the adrenaline to fade. Enough time for stories to solidify, if someone let them. Anya didn't. She spent the interim days doing what she always did when uncertainty pressed too close. Routine, range drills, equipment maintenance, physical conditioning until sweat burned away thought. But at night the questions came. Not about the storm, not about the intruders. About the choice. She replayed the moment the knife touched his skin. The angle, the tension, the reality that a fraction of a second separated life from loss. She could have let it end differently. No one would have blamed her. That knowledge sat heavier than the weight of any weapon she'd ever carried. The briefing room smelled like recycled air and stale coffee, windowless, neutral, designed to remove context so only facts remained. The command staff filled one side of the long table. Instructors lined the walls, every seat taken. Anya sat 3 chairs from the end, hands folded, posture relaxed, not submissive, not defensive. Present. Lieutenant Evans spoke first. His voice wavered at the start, then steadied. He walked through the mission chronologically: equipment failure, weather shift, terrain collapse. When he reached the decision point, the storm, the map, the hut, he paused. Then he said her name. Not with emphasis. With respect. She identified the risk, offered a viable alternative, led us to shelter. No embellishment. Just truth. When the confrontation in the hut came up, the room grew tense again. Everyone had heard pieces of it already. Rumors traveled faster than helicopters. Evans didn't dramatize it. He described her movements clinically: efficient, non-lethal, decisive. He described the moment Thorne had been pinned. He described how she ended it. She prevented a fatality, he concluded, possibly several. Then he sat down. Silence followed. All eyes shifted to Thorne. He stood slowly. This time there was no performance, no bluster, no armor left to wear. His voice came out low, flat. I was wrong, he said. Not loud enough to be brave. Just loud enough to be honest. He admitted to the harassment, to the cafeteria, to the storm, to charging in the hut instead of thinking. He didn't look at the command staff when he said it. He looked at her. Specialist Sharma saved my life. The words landed heavily, not because they were dramatic, but because they were final. Master Chief Vance let the silence stretch. Then he spoke. Ego, he said quietly, is not a leadership trait. No shouting, no condemnation. Just consequences. Thorne was removed from the course. Reassigned. Finished. The decision was clean. Afterward, no one approached Anya right away, not out of distance, out of recalibration. Then gradually, questions came. Not apologies. Questions. How she tracked terrain, why she waterproofed her maps the way she did, how she controlled a body without breaking it. Respect arrived quietly. One evening, near dusk, she found herself alone on the pistol range. The desert cooled rapidly as the sun dipped behind jagged rock. She fired, reloaded, fired again. Controlled, purposeful. Brass chimed against concrete. When she finished, she stood still, breathing, watching heat fade from the land. Master Chief Vance approached without sound. "You could have let him die," he said eventually. She didn't turn. "Yes. Why didn't you?" Anya considered the question the way she considered terrain, slowly, honestly. "Because I don't measure strength by what I'm allowed to take," she said. "Only by what I choose not to." Vance nodded once. The sky darkened. Stars emerged. Somewhere behind them, a system shifted, almost imperceptibly. Not because someone had been punished, but because someone had been revealed. And sometimes dignity doesn't speak. It simply acts. Why did the silence follow her more closely now, like it was waiting for something she hadn't yet admitted? The days after the review felt different, not easier, not harder, just exposed. Anya noticed it in small ways first. The pause before conversations resumed when she entered a room. The way questions were now directed at her without hesitation, then followed by a careful silence, as if the men asking them were afraid of crossing an invisible line they didn't yet understand. Respect, she learned, could be just as isolating as doubt. She didn't correct anyone, didn't lean into it. She kept her routine unchanged, as if consistency alone might flatten the ripples she'd caused. Morning runs before the heat climbed. Equipment checks done twice, even when once was enough. Time on the range not to improve, but to steady. Still, something inside her had shifted. Not pride. Responsibility. She felt it most when she passed Thorne's old training bay. The space was empty now. Gear lockers open. Name already stripped from the board. He'd been reassigned quietly, efficiently, like a malfunctioning component removed from a system. She hadn't wanted that outcome. But she hadn't stopped it either. That night's sleep came late. When it did, it brought memories she hadn't invited. A different facility, years earlier, a different storm. She saw herself younger, smaller, kneeling beside a teammate who wouldn't wake up. Heard the radio crackle with static that never resolved. Felt the weight of a choice made too slowly. She woke before dawn, heart steady but heavy. Some lessons don't fade, they integrate. The next exercise was smaller, quieter, no helicopters, no spectacle, a simple leadership rotation through complex terrain, designed to test judgment under ambiguity. Anya was assigned as second in command. She hadn't asked for it. She accepted it without comment. They moved through broken ground, scattered rock formations, long sightlines interrupted by sudden drops, the kind of place where mistakes hid patiently. The team leader hesitated at a ridgeline. The map was clear, but the terrain wasn't matching expectations. Everyone waited. Not because they doubted him. Because they trusted her. She felt their eyes before she looked back. This was the moment she'd been avoiding. She could have spoken immediately, corrected the course, taken control. Instead, she waited. Watched the leader work through it. Watched him struggle. Then she offered one sentence, one observation, nothing more. He adjusted, chose correctly. The team moved on. No one said anything. Later, during a break, one of the younger operators approached her. "Why didn't you just take over?" he asked. She didn't answer right away. "Because leadership isn't about being right," she said finally. It's about making sure the right person learns when it matters. He nodded, not fully understanding, but storing it away. That night, Master Chief Vance watched her from across the range. She knew he was measuring something. Not her skill, her restraint. He found her later, as she cleaned her weapon under dim light. "You're carrying it," he said. She didn't ask what. "The weight," he clarified, "of being the one people look to when things break." She set the weapon down carefully. "I didn't ask for it." "No," he agreed, "but you earned it." She met his eyes then, really looked. "And what does it cost?" she asked. Vance didn't answer immediately. "Eventually," he said, "distance from others, from yourself if you're not careful." The words settled deep. The final evaluation came without warning. A simulated mission layered with human variables instead of technical ones, conflicting intel, time pressure, a choice that would leave someone exposed no matter what. Anya saw the trap immediately. "No clean win." She spoke up, outlined the risks, the trade-offs, the human cost. The room waited. She made the call. Later, alone again, she questioned it, turned it over, examined every angle. She wondered if Thorne had felt this quiet doubt after action. The difference, she realized, wasn't competence. It was reflection. On the last evening before graduation, she returned to the range. Not to train, to breathe. The desert stretched out in silence, indifferent and honest. She holstered her weapon and stood still as the sky darkened. Strength, she understood now, wasn't dominance. It wasn't control. It was accountability, carried quietly without witnesses. And redemption, she realized, wasn't about being forgiven. It was about choosing restraint again. And again. And again. Even when no one was watching. Why did the final test arrive without orders, without weapons raised, and without anyone telling her what the right answer was? It started like an inconvenience. A delay, a change in schedule, the kind of thing no one bothered to announce with urgency because urgency had been exhausted already. The course was effectively over. Graduation loomed. Evaluations were written. Decisions made in rooms Anya would never enter. She should have felt relief. Instead, she felt alert. It was the absence of pressure that unsettled her, the quiet before something that didn't want to be seen. The call came late in the afternoon, not through command channels, through Vance. "There's a situation," he said, tone deliberately neutral, "not part of the curriculum." Anya didn't ask for details. She grabbed her gear without rushing. That alone told him enough. They drove beyond the perimeter, past the fences, past the controlled chaos of the facility and into terrain that wasn't meant to be navigated by doctrine. An observation team, civilian contractors lightly trained, had gone missing during a survey tied loosely to the base. No enemy force, no confirmed threat, just silence where voices should have been. Command wanted eyes, not noise. Anya understood immediately why Vance had come to her. They moved fast but quietly. No dramatic insertion, no helicopter, just vehicles left behind and boots on stone. The trail told a story, broken brush, scuffed dirt. Someone had panicked, someone else had tried to calm them. They found the first marker just before nightfall. A dropped radio. Cracked. Useless. Anya crouched beside it, fingertips brushing dust away, eyes narrowing. The terrain around it sloped downward toward a ravine, narrow, unforgiving. She stood slowly. "They're alive," she said. Vance studied her face. "How do you know?" "Dead people don't abandon tools, they cling to them." They followed the ravine into shadow. The missing team had made it halfway down before someone fell. Broken ankle, maybe worse. No blood trail, just hesitation etched into the path. A decision made too late. They found them huddled beneath an overhang, cold, dehydrated, alive. Relief hit the team like a physical force. Then the problem revealed itself. The terrain they descended couldn't be climbed in the dark. The only safe route out would take them deeper, away from the base, away from signal range. Command wanted them extracted at first light. Anya ran the math. Exposure versus movement, fatigue versus cold, risk versus responsibility. The contractors looked at her with wide, unguarded hope. She felt the weight settle fully now. This was the test. No one watching, no report to shape perception, no enemy to justify hard choices. Just people. She made the call. They would move, slowly together, into uncertainty. One of the contractors panicked, said it was too dangerous, said they should wait. Anya knelt in front of him, eye level, voice steady. "We can't remove risk," she said. "Only choose which one we carry." He followed her. They moved through the night in fragments, short distances, frequent stops. She rotated positions, took weight when needed, gave it back when possible. She felt exhaustion creep in, not physical but emotional, the cost of attention, of never turning off. Just before dawn, they reached high ground. Signal returned. Extraction confirmed. As the helicopter lifted them out, one of the contractors grabbed her arm. "You didn't leave us," he said, not a question. Anya didn't answer. She didn't need to. Back at the facility, no ceremony followed, no commendation, no speech. Vance found her at the range one last time. "You passed," he said. She looked at him. "That wasn't a test." "No," he agreed, "that was proof." Graduation came quietly. No one cheered too loud. No one needed to. As she packed her gear, Anya paused, thought of the cafeteria, the storm, the hut, the knife, the choice. Strength, she realized, wasn't revealed in moments of violence. It was revealed when power could be used, and wasn't. When walking away cost more than standing firm. She slung her bag over her shoulder and stepped into the desert light. The path ahead was undefined, but she would walk it the same way she always had. Steady, present, accountable. Why did it feel heavier to leave than it ever had to arrive? The morning she departed the facility, the desert looked unchanged. Same pale horizon, same wind dragging dust across concrete, same silence that swallowed sound before it could echo. But Anya knew better. Places like this didn't mark endings with ceremony. They absorbed them, folded them into routine, let the next cycle begin as if nothing had happened. She finished packing before sunrise. Her duffel lay open on the bunk, neatly arranged as if order itself might anchor what came next. She paused once, just once, holding a folded map she no longer needed, paper softened by weather, edges creased by decisions. She placed it on top anyway. Outside, engines started, teams rotated. New candidates arrived with the same restless confidence she'd seen weeks earlier. Some would break, some would learn, a few would change the room without ever raising their voice. She didn't envy them. She walked past the mess hall without looking inside. The memory didn't need reinforcement. At the gate, Master Chief Vance waited. No clipboard, no rank on display, just a man who had watched enough people become themselves under pressure to know when to stop talking. "You won't stay invisible anymore," he said. She met his eyes. "I never was." A small smile touched his face, not approval, recognition. "They'll try to define you," he continued. "Use you as a lesson, a symbol, or a warning. And if I don't let them, then you'll keep paying the cost of standing alone." She nodded. She'd already paid parts of it. Vance extended his hand. She shook it firmly, once. No speeches followed, no promises exchanged. She turned and walked toward the waiting transport, boots crunching against gravel, posture unchanged. Behind her, the facility resumed its noise. Ahead of her, nothing was labeled. The flight out was quiet. She sat by the window watching the terrain slide beneath them, mountains shrinking, valleys flattening, distance rendering everything smaller than it had felt when it mattered. She thought of Thorne, not with anger, not even with pity, just understanding. He had been strong once by the only definition he'd known. It hadn't been enough when it counted. She hoped he would learn. She didn't need to watch him do it. Weeks later, she stood on another range, another base, different faces, same assumptions hidden better now. Her name had preceded her. So had the story. People watched her more carefully here, not with hostility, with expectation. That was its own burden. During a drill, a younger operator froze, not from fear overload, too many inputs, too much noise. His hands trembled around the weapon. Anya stepped beside him, didn't take over. "Breathe," she said quietly, "one thing at a time." He followed her voice. Afterward, he thanked her like she'd saved his life. She hadn't. She just stayed. Late one evening, she found herself alone again, standing beneath a sky crowded with stars. Different desert, same silence. She holstered her weapon and leaned back against a barrier, letting the cool air settle her thoughts. She finally understood what had changed. It wasn't how others saw her. It was how she carried herself through their seeing. She no longer measured worth by resistance faced or victories claimed. She measured it by what she left intact: people, situations, herself. Strength wasn't loud. It didn't need witnesses. It didn't announce itself with force. Sometimes it looked like restraint. Sometimes it looked like patience. Sometimes it looked like stepping forward when stepping back would have been easier, and walking away when staying would have fed the wrong fire. Anya closed her eyes, breathing evenly, grounded. Tomorrow would bring new tests, new storms, new moments where control would be mistaken for power. She would meet them the same way she always had. Present, disciplined, human. Because sometimes, the strongest thing a person can do isn't to dominate the moment. It's to hold it steady. And sometimes, dignity doesn't speak. It simply acts.